All Scripture is given by God. All Scripture. He said, well, what about the Gospel of Thomas? That's not Scripture. What about the Gospel of Mary Magdalene? It's not Scripture. What about this writing? What about the Book of Mormon? Not Scripture. Well, I did a Bible study with some guys that came and knocked on my front door. And I did a Bible study with them out of the New World Translation. Not. Some dude with the last name of Knopp. Scripture didn't match up with their false religion, so he decided they needed to rewrite. So they made the New World Translation. The Jehovah's False Witnesses will come knock on your door with that one. Joseph Smith, a pervert and a thief, was killed by an angry mob in Missouri. His people fled and took off on the run, and he wrote the Book of Mormon. And you look and you say, well, how do you know he's not right? Because there's no evidence that he's right. In upstate New York, the angel Moroni shows up and sits on the foot of his bed, gives him some magic glasses and some magic plates, and he ends up reading some kind of hieroglyphics off that, and that ends up having him marrying a bunch of women folk. And are you kidding me? And you say, well, you know, some leaders go bad, but their followers, yeah, I know about their followers too. Why don't you go home and Google Mountain Meadows Massacre? Why don't you go, they got a movie, just in case you're not big on reading stuff. They made a movie about it called September Dawn. They had a bunch of Christians that were about to starve to death. And they knew that the Mormons were on the run out that direction. And these Christian settlers were trying to get all their way out to California. And so they ended up they had a false treaty with some Indians. And then they came down, and the Mormon men walked out with the Christian men after they had circled their wagons and held off the Indians for a while. They said, the Indians will make a treaty, but we have to come in. You all have to be disarmed. So they took all their guns away from them. And the Mormon men said, don't worry, we'll protect you. And they carried their own guns right with them. And as they marched along, they got all the men out in a long line. And once somebody gave a signal, and every Mormon man turned around and shot the Christian man in the head right next to him. Killed every one of them, let the Indians come down and rape and pillage and kill everybody else. I think there were 6 children that got away that ended up being kept by the Indians, and then later were able to tell what happened. That's the Mormons for you. Summer of 1988, a few Mormons came down, killed my sister's boyfriend who had left the church. Man, if you're Baptist, somebody leaves the church, usually we just don't talk to them at Walmart. They hunted Ed down at Ed's Appliance in Irving on Shady Grove, summer of 1988. At the exact same time, they killed his 2 best friends. They were actually brothers from Ervil LeBaron, had a bunch of, it's just crazy stuff, guys, that you wouldn't believe that's happening in modern day times. Hunted them down and killed them in the same fashion down there. 2 brothers, and one of them had a 7-year-old daughter, so they put a 45 to her head. Real nice religion. But we know who wrote their book. It's a pervert.